In this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to do a double exposure. So the first thing you need to do is get your safety glasses because safety first, right? So you're going to go to your folder on the desktop, click on mine, and then go into your tutorials folder right here. Right, you're going to have a bunch of random files in here from previous lessons, but don't worry about those. Right click by using two fingers on your trackpad and click new folder, and you're going to name this double exposure. All right, then the next thing that you're going to do is go to your Google Classroom right here and find the tutorial that is labeled double exposure right here. There's two images right here. You're going to click on the first one. You're going to right click on the first image, save image as. You're going to go to desktop, find your folder, find tutorials, and go to double exposure. Oops, it's right here. And I'm going to save this one as mountain. Right? Has to say .jpg right there. Save, click to the next one. Right click again, save image as, and then I'm going to name it just portrait. Right? And it's a .jpeg again. Hit save. And now we are ready to get started. So I'm going to minimize the internet and go to back to my tutorials folder. So again, that's on your desktop. You go to tutorials and click on double exposure. And now you have these two images that we just downloaded right here. So you're going to either hit Command A to select all of them, or you can click and drag to select all of them. And then next thing you do is right click and click open with. So in order to do this, you need to right click and click on the image, click open with, and then you're going to open up them with Adobe Photoshop 2017. Alright, so now opened them both right here. We see that portrait is right here and the mountain one is right here. Alright, so we want them side by side so we can kind of see them at the same time. So we're going to go to Window up here, click on Window, and go to Arrange, and you're going to click on Tile All Vertically. So now we see both of our images right here side by side. So in Photoshop, we have our toolbar over here on the left-hand side with all of these different tools that we're going to be using. But the first one that we're going to be using is the Move tool, which is the top one right here. And the shortcut to the Move tool is the letter V. So I'll click on the Move tool, and we're going to drag this image on top of the mountain image. So you click on the portrait image of the guy, you click and hold until you get to the mountain image and you let go. All right? So you drag and drop that on top of there. We no longer need the portrait image, so we're just going to close that. And so hit X. I'm still on the Move tool right now, so I'm going to, again, grab my portrait and center it on top of the mountain photo. So you know it's centered when you see the cross arrows, the crosshairs dividing your photograph into 4 sections. That means it is centered. So I want to zoom out, and an easy way to do that is go to Window and click on Navigator. Right? So up here in the right hand corner now, if you click, you can make it a little bit bigger. Our navigator is right here, and this little slider will allow you to navigate in and out of the photo. We can see that the photograph actually goes off of the canvas because of these boxes right here. To show these boxes, you have to click Show Transform Controls when you're on the Move tool right here. So you want those boxes to be shown at all time. We don't want the photo to go past the edge of the canvas, so we're actually going to crop it. So over here is the crop tool. So you just click on that, and right now you see the dotted lines around it, and all you have to do is double click, and now our photo is cropped. Right? We go back to the move tool. Now we can see that the bounding boxes go right to the edge because we just cropped it. Right? So now we have two layers here. I'm going to put that right in the center. We have our layer 1 and we have our background layer right here. So I'm going to rename layer 1 by double clicking on it right here. So I'm going to name this man, and I'm going to name this one mountain. And that dialog box popped up because the layer was locked. You can see over here that it's locked right here. That's why this box popped up. So I'm just going to type it in there, and we're going to create that. So the next thing that I'm going to do is we're going to make a copy of both of these layers right here. All right? So like we learned previous, you're going to hold the Command key on the keyboard, click on the first one, and then click on the second image to select both of them at the same time. So now they're both highlighted, and you're going to right click on the word and go up to duplicate layers. And you're going to hit OK. Now we have 4 different layers right here. We're doing this so we have a copy of our original files just in case we screw up the originals, which we probably will, so we'll have a copy just as a backup. So I'm going to lock these bottom 2 layers right here. So click on the bottom one, click the lock key, click on the second one, the man, click the lock key, and now we want to hide these layers. We're not going to use them right now. We want to get them out of the way. In order to do that, you click on the little eyeball right here. And these eyeballs will show you, will hide layers, right? So if all of them are off right now, if you click on the mountain eyeball, the little eye right here will show you that layer. And if you click on the man, it'll show you that layer. But now these are both shown. We don't see the mountain because it is behind the man layer. So you can think of that as 2 pieces of paper on top of each other. So this one right here are man layers on top of the mountain layer. All right? So I actually want to start off with putting the mountain layer on top of the man layer. And then we're going to just hide that one to start. Right? So we're going to begin. Make sure you click on the man copy. And you know you're on that layer because it's highlighted gray. And then we're going to start. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to cut out this white space. And the way that I'm going to show you to do that today is using the pen tool. So if you go over to your toolbar, next to your text tool is the pen tool right here. If you right click, it gives you a couple more options, but we're just going to start by using the basic pen tool. So I'm going to go over to my navigator and I'm going to zoom in to my image and start outlining the image. So I'm going to zoom in with my trackpad because that's actually easier than the navigator by pinching just like on a iPad or iPhone. So I'm actually going to start off the screen. So I'm going to click to start my first point, and then I'm going to click right here. So now we see I've started to make my path or my selection. You can see that there's a little bit of white space right here, which means I didn't do a very good job. So in order to take a step backwards to get back to this first point, you have to hold Command, Alt, and then Z on your keyboard. So hold Command, Alt, press Z, and it will step you back. So I'm actually going to make another one right here at the beginning, just so I can get closer. So you want to be really careful and be pretty precise about this. So the closer you zoom in, the better, because you're going to be more accurate. So I'm just clicking every little bit, right? So this is going to take a little bit, but that's okay. So hopefully this video will help you guys learn how to create a double exposure. Alright, so you can navigate your image by grabbing this box, or you can use 2 fingers on the trackpad of your computer, or you can hold the space bar, and when you hold the space bar it turns your cursor into a hand and you can navigate that way. So I'm just clicking, alright, and getting really close to the edges. I want the eyelashes in there, so it is a little bit tedious, but in order for you to do a good job, this is the best way to do it, because it's the most accurate, because you're telling the computer where the edge of this photo is actually at. Right? So to fill this blank space, my brother, not I, he is getting a cat for our apartment, which I'm not really sure about. I like cats, but I don't want to have to deal with a cat in my apartment. It's just gonna be, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I'll let you guys know. But yeah, I'm an animal person. I like animals. Dogs are my favorite because they're the most fun. But cats are cool too. So whoops, I accidentally clicked off of my photo. What do? Don't freak out. Alright, so hold Command and Option key, and then just hit Z 1, 2, 3 times to get back here. Right? So you have to hold Command Option, and then every time you hit Z while holding those two, it'll take a step back. Clicking around the hair, kind of doing this a little bit fast, but you should take your time. It's kind of hard to see where the shoulder is, but I'm kind of just guessing right here. I'm doing my best. Right, so boom. I went off of the canvas now. Now I need to complete my selection. I'm going to click on the starting point. So right on that dot, I'm going to click on it. Now I've completed my section. I'm going to zoom out, and now you can see I've done a pretty good job of selecting the portrait of this guy. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to turn the mountain layer back on. You can still see that selection. You don't have to worry about that right now. But I turn the mountain layer back on, and we're going to want to make it kind of see-through, right? So to do that, you go right here where it says opacity, I really don't know how to say it. Turn it down to about 50% or so. And then we're going to want to go back to the move tool right here. All right, so we're on the mountain copy still, and we can move this photograph around. So now is when we decide where do we think it will look best to position this photo on this guy, right? I think it looks pretty good to have this mountain kind of cupping his eye right there and just over his nose. But you see that now we have this blank space around it. So in order to fill that space, I'm going to make the photo larger. But in order to not screw up the proportions of the photo, you need to hold Shift and Options, and then you can grab the corner, and then when you enlarge it, it won't screw up the proportions of the photo. So then I'm going to let go, kind of rearrange that, and I think it looks pretty good right there. I'm going to double click to apply that transformation, and now we're almost set. As you can see, now this photo goes outside of my canvas again. You see these lines. That's okay. We can fix that simply by cropping it again. So I hit the crop button over here and just double click, and now if you click back on the move tool, you'll see that that image has been cropped and fits nicely on the canvas. So now we have to select the outside of the mountain, right? How do we do that? So I'm going to go over here to where it says layers. Next to layers it says channels, and then we're going to go to paths. So you're going to click on paths right now. So this right here is called a path, what we just created, right? It's called a work path. And it's good for creating selections that things that you want to cut out, right? So we want to cut out the background, so that we selected the guy. In order to actually make the selection, we have to right click on the word work path right here and click make selection. All right, I'm going to have it set to 0, it's fine. And you can see now that the selection is made, right? I'm now going back to layers and going to go to layers and going to go to, oh yeah, I know where I'm at. So I'm going to go back to my layers, and now we have to select the opposite of our guy. Okay, so the guy is selected, but if I hit delete, it's going to delete the guy. We don't want to delete the guy. We want to delete everything else. So in order to do that, you need to go up here where it says select, and we need to select the inverse. So now this little trail of ants goes around the outside of the photo rather than the guy. So now I'm on my mountain copy still, and this is all selected, and you hit the delete button or the backspace button and it will go away, right? So now we have a blank background. So now we need to get rid of the ant trail, the selection, so go to select, deselect, or the shortcut is Command D, right? So we're almost there. I'm going to actually now make another copy of this mountain right here. I knew this would come in handy, so I'm going to actually duplicate this again. Duplicate layer, hit OK, and I'm going to bring this one up. I'm going to make it visible now, and I'm going to unlock it, right? So now we still see white in our background. I don't want that the background to be white. I want it to be more subtle. So I want to delete the background from this man copy so we get the mountain showing through. So click on the man copy, right? Go back to your paths, right click and make the selection again. Okay. You're going to go back to layers and then click on the man copy. Remember, I have to select the inverse, right? I want to delete this white space around here, not the guy. So select, inverse. Now I can hit the delete key. Now we see the mountains showing through the background. I'm going to go up here to select and deselect. And now we're almost finished. Okay, so I think it would look a little bit better if the background wasn't so sharp and if it more focused on our guy here in the front. So I'm going to kind of blur this background picture out. So I'm going to click on the Mountain 2 copy and go up to Filter and then to Blur. And then we're going to want to select the Gaussian blur. I'm going to bring this over here, and you select what a radius where you think it looks pretty good. I want to leave a little bit of detail maybe, but not too much that it draws away from our guy. All right, I'm going to hit OK, and we're almost done. All right, so the last thing that I'm going to show you how to do is create a layer mask, which kind of sounds confusing, but it's not really confusing. So we want to kind of erase some of this erase some of the mountain photo that's on top of the guy. So I'm going to click on the mountain copy, and we're going to create a layer mask on top of this layer right here. In order to create a mask for this layer, you go down here to the bottom, and this little camera looking button is a square with a circle. You click that, And now we see that there's a mask on top of this layer, right? So now whatever you paint over this mask with the color black, it's going to disappear. So I'm going to go over here to my paintbrush. I'm going to select the black color. Right? Now this paintbrush is kind of big. Right? I'm made sure that I'm on my layer mask. You can accidentally click on this, and that's not what you want to do. So you want to make sure the white layer mask is selected right there, and wherever you paint, it's going to kind of take away from that mask. So now you see that just became a lot more contrasty. Contrasty, I don't even think that's a word. I think I just made that up. All right? So I'm going to kind of, so we can change our brush size if we want, and we do that by going up here to the brush selection, and you can change the size of it and the hardness of it, which is the feather. So how dithered or dispersed the brush is. All right, so I'm going to set mine to about 50. That's good. Maybe a little bit smaller, to about 45. And I think I'm going to erase, paint black. You see where I'm painting black in here to get rid of some of that, some of this photo right here. So I'm painting black to kind of bring that to the forefront, to bring this one to the forefront. I think I want to get rid of everything on his head. Right? So yes, I know these edges right here. Let me grab this tool. These edges right here are really really hard, right? If you zoom in, you can see that they're not great, and I could have done a better job, but that will be for a later day. All right. So now we are pretty much done. We have our double exposure. You can pick what you want to erase on here. So maybe you want to erase part of the stuff on his jacket or part of his neck. So you would just make sure you're on the mask again. Go to the paintbrush right here. Make sure it's black by going down here, clicking this box. You know it's black because the black box is in the foreground. And then you just start painting, right, to make it disappear. So you could paint around here to make it disappear. I'm kind of content with what it was. So I'm actually gonna undo that, Command Option Z, and leave it like that. I'm gonna save it like this. So I want to save a Photoshop version of it in order to be able to go back and re-edit it later. So I'm going to go File, up here, Save As. Click this little down button right here. Go to my desktop, click on Mr. Douglas, click on, which one is it? I think it's this one. Click on Tutorials, Double Exposure, and you're going to rename it your first initial underscore last name underscore double exposure. All right, and then you hit save. Hit OK. All right, so now in order to turn this file in, you want to save it as a JPEG too. Right? So you want to have two different files. You want to have one that's a flat picture file, and you want to have one that still saves all of your layers right here. So you have File, Save As again, but instead of being a ps.psd this time, we're going to change that to be a JPEG. So you click on this little box down here, the drop-down format box, and click on JPEG. And you just hit save, and then it's going to ask you the quality you want. I want it to be maximum, and at 12, hit OK. So we're done. You minimize it. You open up your folder right here, and here's my Photoshop document, and here is my JPEG. So we can open that. All right, this is the final version. If I was really meticulous, I would go in and clean up those edges with the selection tool, but I'm not really worried about that right now. I'm just more worried about you guys understanding how to do this. So that is tutorial number 2. This is Mr. Douglas's classroom. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.